This is a teaching message from Church of the Living Water of Austin.
When I say see the infrastructure differently, actually we're going to have to see it the way it was originally defined for us. See, we can get away from what God first said, his original plan. We got to know what he originally said and stay with that. Now, let me explain what an infrastructure is so we can all be on the same page. Write it down. An infrastructure is a network of our spiritual. Now, I've taught this some years ago, so you ought to grab a hold of this. It is a network of our spiritual, administrative, which is natural, and financial resource working together so that all of us who believe and on one accord would not suffer lack. I say it again. It should be up there. An infrastructure is a network of our spiritual, administrative. The administrative just simply means natural, which is, and financial resources working together, that all of us that believe and are on one accord, none will suffer lack. We need to be on point about none suffering lack. It is a coming together of our spiritual, administrative, and financial resources. Now, why do I say we have to see the infrastructure differently? Because many of us, even with me teaching this, many of us focus on the last statement, none suffer lack. See, that's where we are. That's what we're focusing on. See, we haven't focused on the first two parts, spiritual and natural. We just heard, so none suffer lack. Listen closely. See, we always just want to focus on money. To me, so I won't suffer lack. But an infrastructure is a coming together. It's a coming together, a networking. First of all, of our spiritual resources. What do you mean by that? Infrastructure is first saying, when it's saying your spiritual, this is what the infrastructure is saying. Whatever you need spiritually, and I have it, and it's in me. All that I know, all that I've been every spiritual gift that God has given me, everything that God has given me to say, every talent that God has placed in me, everything that I know about his word, everything he's done in my life, talking about the spiritual infrastructure, everything, those spiritual resources, if you need it to be made whole, I'm here to give it to you. Everything that I have, I'm ready to minister to you, so that you will not suffer lack. If I have it spiritually, if I know what God's word is about, you're going to get it. If I have a talent that God has blessed me with, and it's going to help you to be made whole, you're going to get it. See how that's looking at it differently. See, it's not about me, it's about helping others. Because if you're looking for it, that means you're lacking. If you're looking for it spiritually, you're lacking. But not just spiritual, the administrative, the natural things, natural ability. Any natural ability that I have that can be used to help you, I'm going to use it. If it's going to keep you from lacking. And see, now we're talking about getting into just natural things. Oh, Lord. Yeah, see, that's the person that don't want to give of themselves. Just naturally, if I have something and you're lacking, that's a natural ability. Yes, I'm going to give it. And yes, I'll move right into financial as well. If that's going to help you to be made whole, I'm throwing that in too.
Amen.
See, that's looking at the infrastructure differently. Don't worry about you not having God. When you fall up under God's guidelines, he's going to take care of you.
Every time.
Every time.
You don't have to worry about, if I give that, I don't have it. You're just a person that don't want to give. You will always find a reason not to. You'll always find a reason not to.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord God.
If it's going to help my brother, my sister, I am willing to even financially help you.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Why? So that all of us that believe can be on one accord.
Amen.
And not
Amen.
suffer lack.
There it is.
If I have and you don't have, and I know that, and God has shown me that, or we've even talked about it, just personally, we've talked about it, I'm not going to sit up there and just let you go without.
Yes. Amen.
Whatever it may be, spiritually, naturally, or financially. Maybe you don't need nothing financially. You just need a word.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
God to put it in you to give out so that someone else can be made whole.
Amen.
Amen.
We talked about preparation. Again, so all of us, none will suffer lack. Now here's the thing. Lack changes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Lack changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
See, what we may have lacked in 20 years ago, we might not lack now.
Right. It's true. That's true.
That might not be your lack today. So, what does that tell me? If lack changes, what else must change? You can say it, the infrastructure.
Yeah.
It has to if the lack of change.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about, seeing it differently. If the lack of change, then the infrastructure has to change.
Mm-hmm.
Let me let that rest with you. Because the infrastructure is in place to make sure that none suffer lack.
Amen.
And if lack changes, then we have to change the infrastructure so that none will suffer lack.
Uh-huh.
Amen.
There it is.
It's good.
But see, if I begin to think that an infrastructure is a program, see, now we missed it.
Uh-huh.
See, that's not going to change it. If we think it's an entity, you missed it. Well, okay, this is that. No, it has to change with the lack.
Mm-hmm.
Understood?
Amen.
The whole bottom line is that none suffer lack. And what people are lacking in 2020 is not what they were lacking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that now.
Uh-huh.
Amen.
Amen.
When I last taught this, people's lack had changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know mine have.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Amen.
People are lacking different things. So we have to change our understanding of what we need to make sure. And we need to make sure that in this time, I'll change my whole look at it so that none suffer lack. So I have to see everything differently.
Amen.
You have to see it differently. 25 and 30 years ago, people are not hurting like, they weren't hurting like they're hurting today.
No.
They're not hurting like they're hurting now. Different kind of hurt. See, 20 or 30 years ago, we didn't have to focus on addressing the depth of people's hurt or the hurting people. It was more about making sure people were having money and making it work. It wasn't about the depth of hurting because, you know, that wasn't the main area of lack at that time.
Right.
But now,
Mm-hmm.
how quickly times have changed.
Yes.
How quickly times have changed. I'll prove it out to you. How time has changed. You know, when the infrastructure first started, watch this. A cell phone was a car phone. Times have changed. And we thought that was something.
Uh-huh.
A cell phone was a car phone. Internet only existed in colleges, and that was just to register people.
That's right.
Times have changed.
Yes.
That's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward it. Again, when the infrastructure started down, everybody didn't have a cell phone. Now you can't go nowhere with somebody got a cell phone. Everybody have a hand phone. Everybody got it in their hands. When the infrastructure started, guess what? You couldn't contact anybody by email. Email then was what you call an inner office thing.
Right.
And you only use that on your job.
Exactly. Take it home.
That shows you how time has changed.
Yes.
Remember, it was a time that computers was about as big as this podium.
Yeah.
Now you can carry one in your hand. Time. Showing you when the infrastructure has changed. And I don't care how you fight it and how long you fight it. Oh, you won't get with it because everything is changed.
Right.
They'll make you get with it. They don't care that you don't have a computer. They're going to set it up that way.
Exactly.
And guess what you're going to do? Obey.
Exactly.
If you want to function.
Right.
Exactly.
Come on.
And why am I bringing all this up? Because when the infrastructure started, we were in a time, and I said, God, you're so right. We were in a time of material and a technological pursuit when it started. But now, everybody say but now, in 2020, we have arrived. See, we were in pursuit of it when infrastructure first started. But now we have arrived. We're at the place of materialism. Aren't we?
Yes.
Technological, well, you can do just about anything. It's there.
Yes.
It's a success. Let me show you how much it's a success. It's such a success that even a person on welfare have an iPhone. Even a person on welfare have an iPhone. And they can use that iPhone and buy groceries or get their deals just slid on that. That shows you time changes.
Exactly.
On government assistance, and they got iPhones. And I'm not saying that's not a criticism, it's just the way the world is. It's just what it is. So we don't need an infrastructure that's going to help us to get more stuff. Or better stuff. Let me tell you, we got the best stuff there is now. We don't need infrastructure for that. We've never had stuff like we have now. We got everything we need right now. But look how high suicide rates are.
Exactly.
Divorces are.
Yes.
It's just climbing, climbing, climbing. Homes are broken. Families are wounded. Children are diagnosed with all kind of weird diseases. They're all over. But we got technological success.
Exactly.
We got something else going on right now. So our infrastructure has to be developed to deal with where the suffering, the lack is right now. That's what God said. You all need to focus on where the suffering is going to be, where the hurt is going to be, where the people are hurting, because those are the ones you're going to have to address. And if you get caught up in this, because what God is requiring for us to do, it's going to take work. See, you can't be lazy with this. Write it down, let it be. We have to be prepared for the commitment that will be required. The commitment. There will be a commitment required from each one of us. A commitment of your time. Listen, I don't know how many ways I can tell you. Time is not yours. It's not your own. But guess what commitment takes? Commitment takes energy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it takes energy. You know what? I have a simple response when I hear a comment like, I'm tired. And here's my simple response. It is a simple state of life. It's a simple state of life. Listen, let me tell you who's not tired. You know who's not tired? A failure.
Yeah.
Because they ain't doing nothing.
Right.
That's who's not tired. Listen, failures have energy.
Right.
Amen.
You're never ever going to be successful and not get tired.
Amen.
Come on. Amen.
Amen.
And that's naturally and spiritual. You might get tired of going to church, but you better press.
Amen.
Exactly.
I don't care how hard you work. You ain't under a covering. You're not hearing the word. You're not doing nothing. Let me tell you, it won't work.
Absolutely.
It's going to be spotty and blank. You're going to call it all God. But I'm going to tell you, there's a way. There's a way that seemeth right to man, and the end thereof is destruction. And let me tell you, you know what? Like, you can always find an excuse not to give. You can always find an excuse not to go to church, too.
Absolutely.
I'm no fool. The only way to not be tired is to do nothing. Just do nothing. You will never be tired. But if you're doing something, you're going to be tired. Maybe I just don't want to do nothing. You're too young not to do nothing.
Exactly.
But the commitment of our time, our energy, our effort, our finances is going to be high. We have to get our hearts ready to be more committed than we have been.
Amen.
See, we've struggled in time past to be committed. And it shows all over the church. It shows up in ministries. It shows up in your giving. It should not be that the older are doing more than the younger. It should not be. We all have to do more. Everybody, not just a handful. And please, please don't say I'm going to do more once I retire. God wants you to do more now.
Amen.
We all have to do more. And I know that there's a lot of you that I'm telling you, sometimes I feel bad because you're doing everything. You're double timing on everybody while everybody else just sitting here like a bump on a log, like my things is more important than it. Listen. Talk to it. That's nothing. It's only important to you. But when God's matter becomes important,
Yes.
oh, it'll come a time you need all of that.
Amen.
And I done told you, you're not grandfathered in. You're not getting nothing because your parents know the Lord. Not with your grown rusty tail. No, ma'am. No, sir. You're going to have to get it for yourself.
Amen.
Are you with me?
Amen.
So, we have to commit our time, our energy, our effort, our finances, all of those things. You got to be even more committed even though you're doing a lot. Let us see. We have to be prepared for the personal involvement that will be required. There will be personal involvement required. Church, we're not going to help those that are hurting without personal involvement. You know, technology can assist in personal involvement, but it doesn't void it out. It doesn't void it out. What do you mean, Pastor? Well, technology will allow you to send a text message rather than a telegram because you're in technology now. But that does not take the place of you being involved in somebody's life.
No.
Exactly.
A text message. Even though you can send text message and you get it instantly, that still does not negate that you need to be involved with somebody impersonally. And again, there's nothing bad, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing evil with text messaging. But it can't be that that's all you do. Let me just send out a mass text to everybody. God bless you all. No! It requires personal involvement. Listen, because of the way that this world is going and how it's moving, personal involvement is going to become essential.
Amen.
Mark my word.
Amen.
Yes.
It's going to become essential. You know why? Because a lot of people are hurting because they're, and this is a sad thing, the reason why people have this hurt that's going on and this really extensive hurt is because people are now in isolation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of this very technology. Isolation. And I'm not just going to talk about just the young people, seniors as well. Isolated. That's why a lot of seniors, they just hooked on social media and just like the young people are. Just different ones. The youngers are into the Twitter and the Instagram and the Snapchat and whatever. The older is interested in the Facebook. Isolation. Let's just talk over social media. But it does not take the place of personal involvement.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Listen. Please listen to me. Reading about a person on social media and what they're doing in their life, that's not personal.
No.
You're not personally involved with them, and all they do is lie on there. You know?
Exactly.
You talk to somebody else, you think they are hot stuff, and they, oh Lord, they must be just really just, they ain't even got the right picture on. And I'm telling you, and they got this new thing now that you can make yourself so beautiful. I'll be laughing when I see these pictures of people, girl, they have no blemishes. And I said, I wouldn't dare put that on, because then when people see, they say, oh my God. See, so don't embarrass yourself. Don't put that on. Just put who you are. I mean, they got some type of app or something. Y'all know what it is. Don't act like you know. They got some kind of app where it make you just look like, oh, I am just simple. I mean, everything is smooth and everything is just, I'm like, I don't remember them being that good looking. And I look like, that's that app. And I'm like, oh my God. So all of it's a lie. So please don't do that, because then when people see you, it's a disgrace. People be like, well, social media just lies.
That's true.
Just put who you are out there. Be underground with it. Don't try to make people think you beautiful, because when they see you, you're going to be laughing. They'll be like, you know, they see you got black spot, dark up and down. When I see that picture, they look gorgeous. I laugh at those all the time. I love to see people do that, because I say, really? Why would you do it? Don't do it, because when people see it, they be like, and you, and then people be talking, you look fabulous. And you be like, that's not them. You be thinking, I saw them today. That's not them. So don't believe everything you see. That's why when I minister on Facebook, all I do is talk about the word. So you ain't got to know nothing about it. Every now and then I might drop something about my grandchildren or something like that. But for the most part, I'm just talking about the word. And then you can deal with that yourself. You can deal with whether it is, and I'll back it up with scripture, and that's it. I'll stay right there. But all of this and telling you about what your family's doing and showing videos of it, don't! That's not personal involvement. And you're lying. Don't believe that social media stuff. I'm telling you that. I don't believe nothing on there like that. And stop Googling everything. That's a lie too. Ask God. You have a relationship with him, he'll tell you. I'm a Google. I'm a YouTube. Oh, God's people. We're gonna have to work hard. Stop trying to get by and squirt through all of these little things that ain't nothing but people show you only what they want you to see.
Amen.
That's all they're gonna show you on social media. But when you become personally involved with them, let me tell you, you talk to people long enough, they're gonna start spilling their guts on everything about them.
So true.
Amen?
Amen.
We're going to work harder. That, we're going to be personally involved. That's why I get on members, and I'm getting on you tonight, members that may be streaming this or however they do the streaming. I don't know all about that kind of stuff. I don't know if they look it now or you do it later or whatever. I don't know how that works. But are they looking at it now?
Yes.
Live. I thought that's something they did after, they did it. Anyway. Don't be fooled. I'm forced to be recommended. She don't know nothing about it. Don't you worry. I know enough. Exactly. I act like I really know. But this, all jokes aside, this is why I get on people that belong to church and they stream. No. I do not like that. God does not like that, and He has something to say about that.
Amen.
Streaming is not attending church.
Not at all.
Know that.
Not at all.
Amen.
Streaming, it would have been called church. It's called streaming. It's not going to church.
Absolutely.
And streaming is not for the healthy body believer.
No, not at all. Know
See, you
that.
thought I didn't know that. It's not for the healthy body believer. If you are healthy and you can walk and you can get, you need to be at church. I'm just going to stream. I'm going to look at it, okay? No, man. Let me tell you, you'll get no revelation off of that. None. You won't even, what I'm talking about now, you won't even hear it like the people in here. Because you are healthy enough to be here.
Absolutely.
Don't try to act religious like streaming is going to save you. No. That's called a lazy believer.
Yes. Amen.
Lazy. Too selfish to come to church.
Yes. Amen.
That's
I
good.
want my time. You'll never be able to restore anyone. You need restoration.
Amen.
I can get the word right here in my bed. Well, it's not about what you can get. It's what you give.
Yes.
It's what you give.
Amen.
See, that's what God is talking about. You're still talking about what you can get. I can get it right here. Where is it? They're gonna stream it tonight. That's okay. If I'm not there, hallelujah. No. God says no. You can't give anything to anybody in your bed.
That's true.
No, you can't. On the chair. And by the way, growth don't come by receiving all the time. Just receive God's word alone. Growth comes by applying God's word. How you going to apply it?
Yes.
In your bed?
No.
All you're going to do is sit up in your bed and get the word? No, that's not the way. You sitting up in your bed, maybe taking notes. Everybody say maybe.
Maybe.
You're not growing.
No.
I don't care how much you think you are. She don't know. Okay, you're not growing. That's the fact that you said she don't know.
Right.
You're not growing.
Yes.
You won't grow. Why? Because you have a venue to go to. And you have a venue to apply what you've learned.
Yes.
How can you apply it if you're sitting at home?
That is so true.
See, there has to be evidence of what you have learned. So you have to apply it so people can see it. Apply what you've heard.
Yes.
So streaming is not for the healthy believer. You have no place to put in action what you're hearing right now. Saying amen in your man in your bed is not going to help you do that. You have to get up and go somewhere and apply what you've heard.
Amen.
All in all, you have to be at church.
Yes.
Amen.
Healthy thing and sitting up like I'm going to stream it.
Yeah.
We ought to stop streaming just for you. Maybe you'll come to church, get spoiled with this kind of stuff.
Yes,
But
yes.
see, it's technology.
Absolutely.
And it's not evil, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're always going to have somebody.
Yes.
You're always going to have somebody. It's just like people on your job. You have somebody messing up for everybody. Streaming is a good thing until a healthy body starts sitting at home and thinking it's church.
Yeah, exactly.
It's for people that can't go to church.
Right, exactly. Yes.
The third thing that he said, gather up the stones. Ooh, Lord. Gather up the stones. Gotta push. Now, we can all attest to what this means. You know, in the summer, even sometime in the winter months, when the spring come or the summer come, and you have potholes in the street, especially when the big trucks are running around, and there's nothing like running into one of those potholes, and it sucks your car, and bam, you be like, oh God, what did I hit? Listen, it was something you weren't expecting, because you didn't see it. And you thought you was in a safe place. See, when you're just driving, you like, I'm in my lane, and it's in a safe place. And then all of a sudden, you thought it was easy access, and then all of a sudden, you hit that pot. You were going on where you were going. Listen. The thing about a pothole is, especially at night, you can't see them. Listen. Now, you would be looking for it if you were driving down an old country road with pebbles and rocks, and where you kind of drive slow because you're looking and everything. But if you're just on a regular highway or just a regular road, you're not really looking for it because you think it is safe. You just drive, and especially if it's a place that you go all the time, and you don't necessarily just see the pothole right there. But when you're in a place where you thought you were safe, and all of a sudden you hit it, you thought you couldn't get hurt. You thought nothing could happen to your car. So see, we have to do more than just build up a highway. We have to gather up the stones. Because otherwise, people will just be going along, and all of a sudden, they get hurt in a place that they thought was safe, or was supposed to be safe. So bring it in to what we're talking about. They're just going along, just like we do. We're just driving along, and you hit a pothole because you didn't see it. People will do the same thing in church. They're going along because they think everything is right at the church. Everything is where it's supposed to be. And they're thinking and they will, everything is safe. And hit a pothole. Listen, if you're married, you need to gather out the materials, the stones. You got to do that. You got to gather out the marital stones. You got to gather them out. That's your responsibility. If you're a parent, you got to gather out the stones. You don't want your children to run into a pothole. You don't want your marriage to run into a pothole. When I say that, you don't want your children to, you don't want something to be going on with you that'll cause your children not to want to serve the God that you confess. That's a pothole for them. Okay? He said, gather up the stones. Don't get all of that stuff out of the way. Because they're going to go down and they're not going to be looking because they think it's safe. They're not looking for a pothole. Make sure it's clear. You don't want to do that. You don't want to make sure, you don't want to leave the stones there where they'll fall into the pothole. No. As a congregation, we have to gather out the stones. When I say that, you can't invite people to church and you don't show up.
Amen.
That's crazy. You invite me and then you don't show up. What the? They be like, well, so-and-so invited me. They didn't come today. No. Yeah, you can just laugh at that. You just invited somebody to church and And why? Then they begin to trip over your issues and things in your life. You have to remove those things that will cause others to fail. So I'm like, I don't care if I don't want to come. I invite them. They said they were going to come. I'm going to be there. Paul put it this way. He said, I don't want it to be said that after I preach to others, I myself become a castaway because I'm not in place. The Bible put it in another way in 1 John 2, where it talks about that that when we love God, that there's no occasion for stumbling. There's no occasion for potholes. There's no occasion that stones around where you can't see it and you get caught up in that. It'll be moved out the way. When we're talking about stones, we're talking about, listen, thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs that cause us to neglect, judge, and mistreat those who must be restored. Should be up there. Listen, when I talk about stones, gathering the stones, I'm talking about your thoughts. See, you got to gather those. Gather those. Gather out the stones. Your attitudes, your beliefs that's against the word of God. that will cause us to neglect, judge, or mistreat those who must be restored. And you see this throughout the New Testament. It was the thoughts and the attitudes and the beliefs that caused the widows to be neglected. They hadn't gathered off the song. It was their thoughts, attitudes, beliefs, listen, that Zacharias and the woman at the well, that's what caused them to be judged. It was thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs that caused the woman that was caught in adultery to be stoned, and the man she was committing adultery with wasn't even around. Gathering up the stones. Letter A, we have to be prepared to remove prejudiced beliefs. Prejudiced beliefs.
Amen.
Someone that, listen, God is preparing us, remember.
Yeah.
You'll be like, well, it's none here. No, listen.
Yes.
We have to prepare by removing prejudiced beliefs. Someone should not come into this church and trip over our prejudice.
Amen.
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 Be prepared. And someone should not come to this church and have to avoid me because I am prejudiced.
Right.
Amen.
Oh, they
Right.
treated me really
Yeah.
bad. They stiffed their nose at me. No!
Amen.
This has been a teaching message from Church of the Living Water at Austin. For more information about our ministry, please go to our website at livingwateraustin.net.